This is the new OnePlus 13, a premium Android phone with selectable materials, maxed out specs, a new level of durability, and some other tricks up its sleeve. But in a blurry market of similar phones, can this actually stand out? And can this make you switch from an iPhone, from a Samsung, from a Pixel, or should you upgrade if you already have an older OnePlus phone? Well, I've been using this as my everyday phone for the past couple weeks since it came out, and I have some thoughts about this, some things it does really well, and some things that it kind of falls short on. But whenever you switch to a new phone, there's really three main things that you notice. Like, the form factor is usually pretty similar on phones, but the differences you'll notice. One is going to be the camera, and I have a lot of thoughts on the camera with this. Two is going to be the software. Being with OnePlus here, they have a lot of new software features coming out in the new version. And three is going to be any little tricks the phone has, like whether that is a pen, whether that is a hinge that makes it fold, a camera button like the iPhone, or with OnePlus, of course, the little selectable slider switch on the left side. So before we get too far into the video, full disclosure, this video is not sponsored by OnePlus. They do not have any rights to see this before it goes live, but they did send me a review unit to make this video, and they did have their launch, interestingly, on a cruise. So every company likes to have a trip when they launch a product, and if you want to get it ahead of time to do the proper testing, to make a video, you pretty much have to go there. So this year's on a cruise, made a good opportunity for a lot of photo samples, and also I talked to a lot of other creators to kind of compare notes and figure out what we liked and what we didn't like about this phone. So let's start off with the design. Even though it is a similar form factor, there are a lot of differences in here. The selectable materials is the most interesting in my opinion. So this comes in three different colors. We have Midnight Ocean, which they call a microfiber vegan leather. It's a plastic back, but it feels really nice. It does kind of feel like leather, to be honest. And this is the blue one right here. There is an Arctic Dawn, which is a smooth white glass on the back. So you notice you can have glass or plastic back, depending on which color you're choosing. And then the third one is called Black Eclipse, which is a textured black kind of wood grain appearance on there. And it actually does have like a wood grain texture on there while still being glass and still being very durable and scratch resistant. So if you like plastic, I mean, this is personally my favorite color. I like the blue one a lot. But if you need to have glass and it feels more premium to you, the other two are great options there as well. The next major difference, and I think this one's probably going to be more of a marketing thing, more so than a practical thing, is going to be the durability. So IP68 is the standard for pretty much all flagship phones. This is IP68 and IP69 water resistant. So the difference between 68 and 69 is really going to be the temperature and the pressure. So IP68, like most phones, probably the phone you already have, is going to be good at being submerged for a long time, like 30 minutes. And this is totally fine, just like most other phones. But 69 then means that you're able to have, water jets on this and, higher pressures, higher temperatures. So if you put your phone in, for example, a dishwasher, older phones would be totally destroyed and this would be fine. I don't know if there's a lot of value in that unless you forget it in the washing machine maybe, or if you just want to sanitize it in a dishwasher. But before we flip to the front, you'll notice the camera bump is a little bit shallower here. It's kind of a trend with a lot of phones. Still a lot of real estate on the back for those cameras. And we do have wireless charging on here. Unfortunately, this does not have Qi 2 wireless charging. I think this is the year when I would love to see it on so many Android phones. It just doesn't exist yet. But OnePlus does have a case, and I'm sure there's many third-party cases too, that works with MagSafe, but they actually came out with their own wireless charger as well. It's a 50-watt wireless charger that can magnetically snap on if you have that case. And also has a fan in there. So if you're gaming, it'll cool your phone and charge it and stuff like that. That's a separate accessory, but it's cool that at least we have fast wireless charging here. Going to the front, we have an interesting, it's a flat display, but the glass on top does have a little bit of a curve on the very edge, so it does make it very comfortable to use. I think it's nice that you don't have that weird distortion in the corner from a curved display. And in the middle, we finally have an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is actually substantially better than any I've tried before. Samsung is already doing a great job, but this one, you can see just how incredibly fast that actually is. And like every other flagship phone this year, we have flat edges on the outside, but a nice little chamfer that gives it a cool premium look, as well as, of course, on the left side, that slider, which I really like that OnePlus phones have. You can switch between vibrate, silent, or full ring. Unlike the Apex edition, which came out last year for the OnePlus Open, this does not have what they call VIP mode. I really wish it did. I liked how that one had the third switch. So it was silent, ring, and the third one was actually turning off your camera and your microphone for privacy reasons if you wanted that. Kind of a cool feature. I didn't use it a ton, but I would like to see that as an option, at least in software, on something like this. This phone, incapable of doing that, at least right now. All right, moving on to the cameras. I have a lot of thoughts here. I have a lot of sample photos and sample videos, but starting off, the main difference with these cameras compared to last year's, which I'm very happy about, is that they moved over to Sony sensors from Samsung sensors. Nothing against Samsung, but personally, I think Sony sensors do a better job for phones. And looking at these, all of them are 50 megapixels. All of them are 4K, 60, Dolby, HDR, including the front camera. So really great specs for the video on all of them. And I mean, the first thing I noticed before we even get into the photos, the videos, I think they're doing a really good job of making it a fairly seamless transition between the different lenses. So as you zoom in from ultra wide to the primary, of course you're going to see a difference in resolution because like one is meant for that distance and one is not, but you don't see a massive difference in like where it's located. It doesn't like jump, and it also doesn't really change anything with the colors. So I think that's kind of a subtle thing many people don't think about, but I think OnePlus did a pretty good job, or at least their partnership with Hasselblad, if that played into that, did a really good job with these lenses. Of course, looking at the photos, they are pretty classically OnePlus Hasselblad, where they are a lot more of a blue, cooler tone photo, which when you're like on a cruise taking photos of, you know, the sky and the ocean, looks absolutely awesome. But there are other landscapes which are generally more green that you might want to be a little warmer, like a forest, that tend to be a little bit bluer on this phone. You can change that, of course, in settings. They have some kind of like filtery things. You can make it look like different film, which is really cool. But yeah, it's not gonna be like the warm iPhone photos that most people are used to. The primary rear sensor is fairly large with a decently large aperture, which means you get a nice natural blur on close-up subjects. Like I took a picture of this Topo Chico bottle, and this is not portrait mode, but the background is really nicely blurred. Of course, I have a watermark on a lot of these photos. That's for your convenience. You can turn that off in settings, and as soon as I'm done filming this video, I'll definitely turn that off. Two really interesting things with the zoom though, and many people might not even notice this. One is that it's not a periscope 5x lens like we see on the Pixel phones or on the iPhones or a lot of other phones out there. Instead, it's 3x, which for the 3x focal length, which a lot of people do use, it's gonna be better, but the 5x, which I really love on the Pixel and the iPhone and on Samsung, you're gonna be lacking a little bit on this in terms of the bokeh and the distortion and everything. I think 5x is a little bit lacking on this phone. But when you zoom in, you can actually zoom in up to 120x. It's a 50 megapixel 3x sensor, so you're really doing a lot of cropping in on that sensor. But what they're doing, which is very, very interesting, is by default, they have AI enabled on this. So it's AI enhancement, which if you're taking a photo of like a mountain far away, it's gonna be great. It's gonna make it look like a really nice photo because a mountain's pretty easy for AI to add in details and you don't know if it's perfect or not. But things that we're better at detecting, like faces or on text, I would just disable the AI. There's a little button in the bottom corner. It says AI, it's orange. Tap on that and disable that because otherwise the writing, it just kind of changes the font, changes the letters, and it's like AI written text there. And faces, I don't even want to get into that. It just completely messes up faces. It looks pretty funny, to be honest. But it's a cool feature that does exist if you want to enable that, and you're zooming into like 120x. Now these cameras have a couple other tricks up their sleeves. I'm not going to get into all of them, but they do have dual exposure, which is nice, so you can have generally better exposed photos, even when things are moving faster, even in lower light. So you're able to take more photos in a short amount of time, like action mode. They should be clearer, less blurry, for example. And in action mode, it takes 60 photos per second instead of 30 photos per second. Again, just to kind of, you know, get that crisper shot if you want it. Portrait mode with Hasselblad, I've always been a big fan of. I think they do a good job, but honestly, it's hard to compare portrait mode these days because everyone does a great job with edge detection. I think the color science is really going to be the main difference with different skin tones. I haven't tried this on like as many different skin tones as I have with like the Pixels and the iPhones, but at least for myself, the portraits come out with a reasonably accurate skin tone. Oh, and they also have a couple modes, so you don't have to change the settings in master mode if you want to get like a silhouette, for example, or a good photo of fireworks. Or the one that I haven't actually tried yet is stage, which I think will probably be used a lot if you're zooming in and you want the right color on like, you know, a band playing music. That could be really useful. But let me know if you want a comparison between this and any other cameras. Like leave a comment, should I compare this to the iPhone, to the S24, maybe the S25 when that comes out, the Pixels. Let me know what you want to see this compared to in terms of camera. And then the third thing is going to be the software. Ever since the Oppo ColorOS thing, it never really felt the same as the older OnePlus, but it seems like we're kind of returning back to that. Like the icons, when you first sign in, looks more like the old school OnePlus, like rounder icons. Feels a lot more like a simple, clean Android. There's still a lot of other things like the drawer on the top with the widgets, like a lot of other OnePlus-y features added into this. And some of them I think are cool. Some of them I find are like annoying. Like, for example, if you swipe up and you want to close all, it doesn't actually close all of your apps. It closes like all except for one or two of your apps. Maybe that's like an OCD thing, but that one does bother me. I do like the universal search on here, so if you swipe down from your home screen, you get universal search, and they added AI in there. I like that OnePlus didn't go way overboard with like the AI in your face this year. There's plenty on this phone, but it feels like they're not like shoving it down our throat with like the rewrite everything for you using AI. Instead, it's like, you know, universal search. If you have a question, you can type it in and either find stuff on your phone or, you know, just search for an answer using AI if you're looking for like a recipe or something like that.
Update on the little AI search thing though. It's a cool concept and like I've had it work sometimes, but I was just trying a whole bunch of other examples right now, and more times than not, it just says, I'm sorry, but I can't find whatever you're asking for. So like just pressing and holding the power button for Gemini, probably a lot better.
They also have something called Beacon Link on here, which is like Bluetooth calling with other OnePlus phones. There's not that many OnePlus phones here in the US, so I have not really used it. It only works for, I think, like 200 meters-ish. Not super far, but other OnePlus features, I mean, I could spend all day talking about them. Maybe I'll make an OS comparison too, but the last one I want to mention is, of course, the hotspot, the Wi-Fi sharing. Like, if I'm on a plane or a cruise ship or like a hotel, and you can only have one Wi-Fi license, then you can put it on this phone and then share it with other devices. They'll link up to this phone, and you just got a nice loophole there on your Wi-Fi price. Inside this phone, we have the Snapdragon 8 Elite, so pretty much the best Android chip you can get this year. Pretty stoked to see that. Of course, it's a OnePlus phone, so maxed out specs should not be a surprise. Unlike the standard 5,000 milliamp hour battery, this has 6,000. Unlike most other phones which have like 45 watt wired charging, this is 80 watts, 50 watt wireless charging. And the pricing is also lower than most other phones too. So it's $899 if you want the OnePlus 13, but you can only get that if it's the black one, and it's 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. All the other ones start at 16 gigs of RAM and 512 of storage, and so that's like all three colors, and that starts at $999. But at launch, they have like a free memory upgrade, and I think they have like a $100 trade-in for any phone. Like you could have an old broken flip phone, trade it in, and get $100 off on your new OnePlus. Final thoughts on this. I'm pretty stoked about this phone. I've been using it as my everyday phone since it came out. I think the cameras are finally good enough for a OnePlus phone, which in the past, I wasn't the biggest fan of them. This, I actually really do like, and I think I'll continue using this at least until the S25 lineup comes out, and then I'll see, is it time for me to switch to maybe an S25 Ultra or something like that? So let me know what you think of this phone in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael Bryan, and I'll see you in that next video.